Welcome everyone. My name is Ross. I'm a mindfulness trainer. And I want to give thanks to Verna and to the Recreational Committee for inviting me to be here today. And what we're going to do today is we're going to look at how we can use mindfulness to help to relieve anxiety. This is a little bit of information about me. These are some of the certifications that I have. Stress reduction, cognitive therapy, eating awareness. I'm also a life coach. And these are some other qualifications that I have. These are some of my clients. And guidelines for today is everything is optional. We're going to ask that we do some practice today, but if anything feels uncomfortable, then just don't bother. So everything is optional. It has to feel right. And we're going to use generalizations. Otherwise, it's going to take too much time to go into specific detail about how the body works and how all the emotions interplay. And this is for educational purposes, so it doesn't replace any professional care. So on the subject of retention, we can see that if I just lecture here, probably about 7% of that will be retained. But if we actually do some practice, which we will be doing, we'll be doing 3 practices today, we're probably getting up closer to 80%. So our time is valuable, and so that's the reason for having the practice. Mindfulness training is really experiential. It takes us a lot from here down to our body. That's really a central, important part of mindfulness training. So the learning objectives today will be to explain anxiety briefly, grounding, and mindfulness, and then to have those 3 exercises that I mentioned. Exercise in just mindfulness, one in grounding and resting, another one grounding and releasing. So what is anxiety? Anxiety can be described as an unpleasant feeling in the body. So we notice it in the body, but its origin probably is from a thought. So to be anxious is not a bad thing. Mother Nature endowed us with that ability. But if we don't pay attention, then it can kind of take over. And it's unfortunate when that happens. So what we're going to do today is we're going to learn how to catch that early on and have something to do about it. Because if we just think about it, chances are the anxiety is just going to get stronger. Some symptoms are irritability. We get grumpy. We over-worry about money, health, relationships, etc. And we feel tired physically. We can find ourselves shaking when we're maybe by ourselves. Muscle tension, we'll feel tension in our shoulders. Headaches, we have that Friday evening headache, just those are all indicators of over anxiety, and we can do something about that. So this is a recent study by the CBC regarding university students, and it indicated that 65% of university students are going to have an overwhelming anxiety experience. Not just, I might not get this exam, it's like overwhelming. And unfortunately, when we get overwhelmed with anxiety, it puts more cortisol into our bloodstream, and our ability to remember diminishes. Actually, the IQ lowers. So it's really important from a student's standpoint to recognize there's a balance here that we can have. So we have a certain amount of cortisol in our bloodstream to keep us sharp, but we don't have too much or else we go over. And then that's when we run into trouble. So a lot of this is about balance. What is mindfulness? Mindfulness is moment-to-moment interest. Have you ever noticed that if you have a project and you kind of been putting it off, maybe it's raking the leaves in the backyard or something, but once you get into it, it kind of becomes okay. And just to be interested. So if somebody comes to you and you're just interested in what they have to say, interest is the key. So if I'm interested in what's happening inside of me, I'm going to pay attention. And I'm going to look for helpful ways that I can take and diminish that. So interest comes before thought. So if we go into thought, we tend to go down the same old path. But if we're just interested, just bare interest. So that is a very short definition. There's longer definitions of mindfulness, but this is a very short and concise one. And we all have these faculties, so it's not that mindfulness is something that has been conjured up. What mindfulness is the faculty to pay attention to the sounds in the room, the intention. So when we hear the sounds in the room, they may be too loud, or we may not like them, so we can go and we can turn them down. So that's the intention, so that's the choice. And the volition would be when I go over and I turn the sound down. So it's really important that we don't forget the volition. If we just think about it, I should turn that sound down, maybe I'll do that later, I don't know. I'm not sure. We end up overthinking again. And we'll have a slide that will show the overthinking challenges. So mindfulness is, again, attention, intention, and specific action. So the specific action might be just, I want to reflect on what happened today when I was talking to Bill. So that's a specific action. It doesn't have to be something physical, but this is giving us choice. So we know that that conversation with Bill today was awkward, and so then we come back into a place where we're more grounded, more at ease, and then we start reflecting on what happened there. What was I feeling? I wonder. And oftentimes we can trace that back. Bill looks like a bully I knew at school or something. Who knows? But we can often see, but it's not necessarily always that we have to go back, but just the fact that we cared enough to have this intention and to do something about it, the body likes that. It's like, that's self-care. So I'm going to ask us to stand up and do a 3-minute practice, mindfulness practice. And this is going to be an invitation to develop interest. So you're welcome to keep your eyes open if you want, but it tends to reduce about 50% of what we're taking in if we gently close our eyes. And first I'd like to invite us just to become aware of the sound in the room. Just being interested in the sound. And we're not going to judge the sound as best we can. It's just sound. So we're interested in the sound. There is sound. Next, the invitation is to feel the posture of the body. Our bodies are full of sensations that tell us where the body is. So just being interested in the posture of the body. And not that we have to change it, just that we're interested in the posture. And now we'll shift our attention to our feet. Just being interested in knowing where our feet are. And if it helps, you can take and use a bit of imagination just to imagine your feet. And this is spatial awareness. It's part of what the brain does for us. And the next is to become interested in your hands. Where are your hands? And again, not judging them to be in the wrong place, just where are your hands? And then the last invitation is just to notice where the tongue is in the mouth. Again, just becoming curious, just being interested. And we'll invite the attention now to go back to our feet, to our toes. Just feeling our toes. And we can curl them a little bit if that helps. Just feeling our toes. And now we can bring the attention to our fingers. And we can tense our fingers a little bit just to help aid the feeling of feeling our fingers. And last, we can bring our attention to our tongue. And with our jaw kind of somewhat relaxed, soften the jaw muscles, we can just add a bit of attention to our tongue, just to enhance the feeling of it. And this is an exercise in grounding. And we'll delve into this further in the next slides, but by being able to shift our attention with an intention, may I feel my toes? May I feel my fingers? May I feel my tongue? We've redirected some of our thought energy into this present moment. And in the present moment, anything is possible. So we may have new thoughts, we may have no thoughts. But the sensations, these grounding sensations, always are in the present moment. They're before thought. So I'll just ring the bell just to end the little practice. And just invite you to sit back down. So that's the practice of mindfulness. It's so nice. It's so simple. So when we become aware of the posture of our body, that's the easiest go-to that there is. We can use other aspects of our being. The breath works very well when we're more calm. But initially, if we just have being aware of the posture of the body first, the toes really ground us. We think about a toddler. My granddaughters, how long it took them to be able to manage their balance on their toes. And there seems to be something very early on in our childhood that when we, as adults, we go back to feeling our toes, it tends to, there's something quite calming about it. So just that simplicity of adding a bit of tension to the toes. This time we're in charge of the tension, rather than the tension trying to get our attention. We're going to put in some intention for that. And that's where the caring comes from. If we have a caring, we know that this is a self-caring intention. So this was the practice that we did. We noticed with interest, the posture of the body. We didn't go do the in-breath, and we didn't do thoughts and emotions. But in the interest of time, we'll be coming back to that. Now, regarding thoughts, it's said that we think approximately 64,000 thoughts per day, which is enough to fill a large book. And if I think in 10 years what my library would look like, that's a lot of thoughts. It's a huge, huge amount. Now, the other interesting thing is that they say that 75% of these thoughts have a negative bias. So if we don't pay attention to our thoughts, then chances are, 3 to 1, they're going to go to a more negative place. So that's where, again, the mindfulness, the attention, noticing, these thoughts are going negative. And then the intention, I have a choice, I can change this. And then follow through with, say, a phrase, today is Wednesday. That will break that cycle. Because today is Wednesday. Now, it doesn't last if you can have it last for 5 seconds, that's really good. But whenever you say something short and concise that's true, that will break the anxiety thought loop. Today is Wednesday. And then just feel the posture of the body. So, excuse me. Anxiety loops. This is a typical, there's been thoughts which have caused an emotion. If we haven't paid attention to them, if we've been unattentive, then after about 10 minutes, the emotions have gotten quite strong. If we continue with that after an hour, then we have very strong emotions. Now, the further we go down here, the longer it's going to take us to rebalance. So it's not like mindfulness is magic. We just work with our natural faculties that we have and with our body. So, unattentive, this would be tension comes into our body, we don't pay attention to it, so we don't have any specific action. So it just continues on and on and on and on and on. So if we pay attention, which would be mindful, then we have a choice. So whatever that might be, there's negative thoughts here, okay, or there's tightness in my shoulders, or my stomach's feeling queasy. Then we know that something's up. Our body's trying to tell us something, so we can learn. So we can learn how to manage that, and then that's where we choose a specific action. So, in its simplest form, this would be what we would do, is we would ground. Rather than getting into a lot of overthought, because overthought, we have that 3 to 1 ratio, what we do just momentarily is we bring our attention back to the posture of the body. Or feeling the toes, or feeling the fingers, or feeling the tongue. Those will momentarily bring us back. So anxiety loops. Again, we have the attention, intention, and specific action. And what's grounding? Like, why would we ground? Well, the reason that we ground is Maslow developed a hierarchy of needs back in, I think it was in the 40s, and it stood the test of time. What Maslow said was that we have needs, if this is considered a pyramid, we can't go up here unless we first meet our basic needs. So if we're really hungry, very tired, we're not going to be able to be very cognitive, to be able to deal with things. So first thing is we look after our physical needs, food, water, shelter, sleep. Now the second one, the second most important basic need we have is safety. So that's where the grounding comes in. When we have that sense of feeling safe, we have addressed this. Because anxiety is a feeling in the body. So also at the same time, there's places in the body that we can go that feel safe. When we have, again, this is generalization, but we have the two systems, the sympathetic nervous system, which is fear-based. It comes on within a second, and it gets us ready to run away or to engage in a fight or whatever in order to protect ourselves. And then we have the parasympathetic, which is more love-based. Parasympathetic, it's that sense of well-being. I can manage this. Yeah, this isn't easy, but I can manage it. So these are generated a lot by thoughts. So if we overthink, we have to be very careful with our thinking process, very mindful of it. Because the parasympathetic, it takes about 10 to 20 minutes for it to come back down. Like if we've been stressed and we have all this cortisol and adrenaline in our bodies, it's going to take quite a while for the parasympathetic to bring us back down. So that's where patience comes in. Patience is one of the attitudes of mindfulness. First attitude is non-judgmentalness. This is happening. Okay, I feel it. I wonder, just being patient, will it change? And how do we ground? Well, if we think of a stone is hard, rough, and heavy. We have those same sensations in our body. So if we take, and if you'd like to try this, just take your thumb, your fingernail, and press it into the soft tissue of your index finger. Just gently press it in there. That's hardness. And you can feel if you put more effort into it, the more you feel that sensation, the more we're coming back into what's called the present moment. Another one is roughness. And again, I just invite you to try this. If you take your tongue and you just rub your tongue on the inside of your teeth, back and forth, just gently, that's a safe sensation. And you can also feel the hardness there. So if we use our tongue, we get two. We get the hard sensation, and we also get the rough sensation. So using the tongue to help ground us is very, very helpful. Heaviness. So this may not be as easy to catch a hold of, but when you're standing up, it's a lot easier. So if you're getting into a difficult situation where you know there's a lot of anxiety, it's always good to be standing. But this has to do with feeling the weight of the body. And again, when we feel the weight of the body, there's no anxiety. That's not an anxiety-producing sensation. Anxiety-producing sensations have this contraction, this tightness, and this doesn't. This is just the weight of the body. The body's always there. So it's just a case of redirecting our attention and maybe even doing a bit of gentle walking, but being interested in what the feet are doing. That's really the key. So, and this is why we look at the brain. When you look at the brain, see how much capacity the brain takes in order to be able for us to walk. So it takes a fair bit of capacity just to feel the feet and the toes. The hand, you can see how much the hand takes. The hand takes a lot. And again, the lips and the tongue. These are all really rich areas because there's so many nerve endings. And those sensations, again, those are safe sensations. So we talked about this, the toes. We can just slightly curl our toes a bit. Our hands, again, put a little bit of tension into our hands. And our tongue, putting the tongue against the teeth at the roof of the mouth. Now the nice part of it is we can do this whether we're walking, sitting, or just standing. And my favorite is laying down. So, yeah, it really is. So there I don't have to worry about my posture or anything else. I could just lay down and get grounded. So it's nice to keep it simple. It's really important actually to keep it simple. Just knowing there's these three areas in our body that we can go to, shift our attention to, and they're safe. And we can use them in whatever we're doing. So even if we're peeling potatoes at the sink, we're feeling the weight of our body, we're feeling our toes, keeping our balance. We're moving our hands, we're feeling the potato in this hand, holding it with a bit of tension. It can be a very mindful exercise. So now we're going to do an 8-minute practice. And with this practice, what we're going to do is we're going to choose where we put our attention. So that's the, we call it an object. So right now we'll say that the situation is we've been quite anxious and we just got home and we've got more stuff on our plate coming at us. But we know that whatever is there, we need to be able to get, we need to get grounded again. So that's what the purpose of this exercise is going to be. So I'm going to ask you to just remain sitting for this exercise. And again, I'll ring the bell when we're ready to conclude. And I'll just ring us in just to start, and then I'll just gently guide us. So now we can bring our attention to the posture of the body. So that's, may I feel my feet. You can see that's a phrase of intention. May I feel my feet. May I feel my hands. And you're welcome to put your hands together, whatever feels right for you. May I feel my tongue. Again, you're welcome just to take and move the tongue around in the mouth. The tongue is pretty amazing. And you can actually use the tongue when you're eating just to notice what a good job it does for us. And also, we enjoy the food more when we're aware of the tongue, because then it brings out the textures and the flavors more out of the food. And typically we end up eating less when we're mindful of our tongue and the food in our mouth. And again, using a phrase of intention, may I feel my posture. May my shoulders drop. May I open my chest, just inviting the shoulders just to go back a bit. May I notice my in-breath. May I invite my in-breath to be long. May I invite my in-breath to be down in my tummy. Again, with some of the attention on the toes, so that if something feels too overwhelming, we can go back to the posture of the body, the sensations of feeling the toes, and our hands, and our tongue, to reground us. So this can be a touch and go. Our safety is in the grounded sensations, so we don't go too far from them. We like to hold some attention in our posture, in our toes, in our fingers, and that may be enough. So what we're doing in this practice is we're practicing moving our object of attention to different parts of our body. May I feel my toes. May I tense my toes. May I feel my hands. May I tense my fingers. May I feel my tongue. May I tense my tongue. May I feel the length of my in-breath and just let go on the out-breath. So this is a practice in moving our attention to different safe places in the body. So this slide shows us that the brain is very complex, and one of the wonderful things that the brain does, it allows us to move our body and allows us to feel our body. So the more that we use more of the brain intentionally, the less anxiety we have. This is what breaks those anxiety loops. So we see that, again, that the foot takes a lot of, to be able to stand and have a posture, takes a lot. The hand, just our hands are pretty amazing what they can do and build, and how they can work on a computer, and so that takes a lot of the motor skills of the brain. But as a complement to that, we have the feeling. And this is what we miss, I think, is we miss feeling our toes and our feet when we're walking. We're thinking about the next thing that we have to do. But meanwhile, it's, might be a nice autumn day, and we're just, we're so up here that we're missing this opportunity to come back home again. Again, you can be creative with your fingers. You can have a phrase, so you can just touch your fingertips. May I be well. May I be safe. These can be helpful thought substitutions for when the mind is racing and is quite anxious. Again, this is an intentional thing that I'm doing to take care of myself. May I be safe. May I be well. So, the pause. Today is Wednesday. That, as I said earlier, it's true. So, if we catch ourselves, then what we can do is we can just say today is Wednesday, and then for 5 seconds, the length of one out breath. Typically the body likes to breathe 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out. That's when it's back in balance. So if we just, today is Wednesday, and I feel my toes. There's an opportunity there to break the thought cycle. And in that present moment, it's like the whole mind is available. It can choose something different. It can choose to be happy. It can choose anything. Because we have, in that 5 seconds, an opportunity. And this is bore out with the latest science that they find, that there is an opportunity to take and just slip in a new intention in the brain. And this is that pause that can allow us to do that. But just having the pause is enough. We don't have to squeeze something in here. It's nice just to have the pause, because the pause is wise and caring. So there is a phrase that isness just is. Today is Wednesday. This is a room. In our language, we use is. So that's the isness. It's a matter of fact. So if we use those terms to think about our experience, there is, and then just feel into the body, there is, there is tension in my right shoulder. And that's true. So now that I'm more aware of it, I can move and I help release some of that tension. Typically what happens is we have run-on sentences in our mind. So the run-on sentence would be something like, I don't like what's happening, it shouldn't be happening to me, why does this always happen to me, I am so unlucky. That can be a run-on sentence. And you know, there's a bunch of those 48,000 negative thoughts in there. It's true. So again, when we're aware of what's going on here, then we can make a choice. Today's Wednesday. Now we're going to be doing the next meditation we're going to do, practice. We're going to invite the tension in our body to show up. What we did first, we became a little bit aware of what mindfulness is like, being able to feel the body. Second, we chose where we want to put our attention, just with a phrase of intention. What we're going to do next is we're going to get grounded. We always, always, always become grounded first. And then if and when you feel safe and grounded, then you just become interested in any tension that's in the body. So this will help to release the intention. And this will happen on its own. So there is tension. This is my tension. I think for the most part we don't want to take ownership for it. It's somebody else's fault, works too hard, whatever. But really it is my tension. And I think the body-mind knows that when we take responsibility for our feelings, something shifts for us. There's nothing wrong with feeling my tension. And then if we want, this is not necessary, but may my fear be well. May my fear be well. That's what our deepest intention is may I be well. May my fear be well. So again, that's a specific action. So we recognize the tension or fear. We acknowledge that this is mine. And then we understand the nature. Over time, we start to understand the nature of fear. So I'd like to invite us to do this practice. And as I said, this time we're going to, the object of attention chooses me. So we're going to first get grounded, then we're going to just invite any tightness in our body to show up. But first we're going to be nice and grounded. And you can also use sound. Sound is also in the present moment. There tends to be more of a wanting to do something about it or to judge it, but just to know sound in and of itself is also helpful in coming into the present moment. So again, we become interested in the posture of the body, especially the spine. Sometimes we talk about having a posture that's noble and worthy of respect. And the brain knows that when the shoulders are back and we have that posture worthy of respect, that everything's okay. It just knows that from the feedback that we have from our muscles. So may I be interested in my posture. May I know where my hands and feet are. May I feel my hands and feet. May I feel my toes. May I feel my fingers. And again, you can move them if that helps. May I feel my tongue. May I notice the length of my in-breath. And then maybe after 2 or 3 in-breaths, we go back to our toes. The mind doesn't like to stay in one place for a long time, so we give it choice. We let it move to our toes, adding a bit of tension to our toes if we want to. May I feel my hands and fingers. May I slightly and lightly tense my fingers. The more gentle we are with this practice, the more benefit it yields. May I feel my tongue. May I tense my tongue. Again, maybe feeling the rough sensations of the teeth, feeling the hardness of the teeth. And just noticing the in-breath, letting go on the out-breath. And then just overall, may I be grounded and safe. May I be well. May I be grounded and safe. And then again, shifting the attention to the toes. To the fingers. And to the tongue. And now if you can feel those areas fairly easily, you can just Spread the awareness to the whole body. May I feel my whole body. May I feel my whole body. And now, if we feel comfortable with that, we can invite the tension in the body to show up. May I be interested in the tension in my body. So for me, it's the right shoulder again. So I just feel the tension at the same time that I'm grounded. May my shoulder be well. And if it feels helpful, you can move the part of the body that has a lot of tension in it. But also just feeling the tension in and of itself is very, very beneficial. May I feel my tension in my body. And again, this is my tension, and this is my body. May I be well. Thank you. You guys are great. So summary. This is another slide of our human needs. I mean, we see our physical needs and then our needs of safety. And because our brain, our mind responds to feelings, and anxiety is a feeling, we need to have a safe feeling to balance that tension. So we have the tension, but we also have that groundedness. And just saying, okay, yeah, you're here, and I'm here, and that's okay. And then over time we start to understand this, and it becomes weaker and weaker. So the self-esteem, that's what we're doing when we're making these choices. When we're saying, may I. Those are phrases of intention, and those are loving phrases. So that helps to release the dopamine. The brain needs dopamine. And the resting, when we just rest, that's an opportunity to reflect. We don't have a lot of other stuff going on in the mind, and we can just reflect just in that peace. And sometimes we get new insights, we get new understandings. Not always, but at least we set the conditions for that to happen. So again, here's our little guys. This is some research that was done, more recent research. And by simply acknowledging emotions, they are expressed. So when I say my shoulder, my anxiety, in being expressed, emotions can be released. So that's the piece where if they're expressed, if I acknowledge my emotions, then they can be released. If they're not acknowledged, then there isn't that opportunity for them to come up into the conscious mind and to be embraced and understood. Even old emotions stored in the body. So maybe something that happened a long time ago, those emotions that are stored in the body, they can have an opportunity then to come up in a safe environment. It's always about being grounded and safe. allowing my emotions to surface into awareness or into our conscious mind, and to be able to name my emotions so you can see how important it is. My emotions, my fear is beginning of emotional exploration. And that's really so true. If we have if this is the conscious mind and this is our fear, if we reach out to our fear, then what happens? We can embrace it. And we've changed the fear into more useful energy that we have. And it's very, very helpful to name fear. Anxiety tends to be a bit elusive, like I'm feeling anxious. Not so helpful. But I'm afraid I'm going to run out of time today. That's fear. So on that happy note, mindfulness, nothing to get, everything to know. And this is where I can be contacted at. We have a website, Anxiety Relief Training, and everything will be free for you to go to. And we're also developing an online training program, a 4-week program. So you'll have practices you'll do each day, and at the end of 4 weeks, we're hoping that there's a significant difference. So, once again, I want to thank you all for coming and being here.